What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at BigBear.ai stock, ticker symbol BBAI, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Thursday, March 7th. Alright guys, BBAI stock here today, up 7 cents a share, 1.87% in regular trading hours. It is up another 7 cents or so in after hours as of the recording of this video. However, you know, if you're new here, you're probably going to get sick of hearing me say over time, if you continue to watch. Hope you do. Hope you subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. I'll do my best to continue to provide free value every day. After hours, volume is extraordinarily low. Okay, so we have to take after hours with a grain of salt, whether it's supporting our bias or going against our current sentiment. But, you know, the truth is, 389 is currently the real price. So if I'm a bull on BBAI, I'm happy to see it up, compared to flat or down. But let's get rolling here and start with our daily ritual, our volume profile analysis on the 5-minute chart. I think this is by far the best chart to perform this on. Let's take a look. I'm, of course, looking for big changes in volume that correlate with obvious moves in the price of the stock, but it has to be outside of what is contextual for that time of day. For example, you know, bears, if you're in a chat room, any of you, if you're in a chat room tonight, whatever, you know, our free Discord, whatever, and you see someone talking about how, oh, did you guys see that big high volume dump on BBAI off the open? Well, it was less than 2 million shares, and we expect a lot of volume off the open, so the truth is, it's really not that far out of context. Now, a few moves that I'm interested in paying attention to here is going to be this bigger downside move, this recovery, this consistent little fade in the afternoon, okay, and then this consolidation into the close. Those are the moves that I'm primarily concerned with looking at the volume on today, and we'll just go through them one by one quickly here. This downside move, you know, honestly, had these first two candles both exceeded 1 million shares, somewhere around there, and this third candle remained where it is, I'd be looking at that a little more seriously, because that would be outside of the scope of what would be contextual for this time of day. But honestly, it's not definitive enough, so we have to take that out. This upside move, I mean, bulls, listen, I'm sorry, one factor of many. There's nothing we can pull out of that. The volume is very normal compared to what we might expect. Bears on this downside move here in the afternoon, very normal. You know, we have to take that out. And now heading into the close, consolidation, the volume was fine. Now we typically might see a pickup in volume into the close, but what we really saw was just a big closing candle. And truthfully, it wasn't the biggest red candle that we've seen, and we saw an immediate recovery in after hours while the volume was starting to die. So, I mean, truthfully, guys, we're doing what we can here, but here on the 5-minute chart, I know a lot of bears may be looking at this and saying, you know, I think we really won that volume profile analysis today. For me, this is a wash here today on the 5-minute chart. Now, let's move on here and start looking at levels on the 30-minute chart, utilizing the most psychological, self-fulfilling prophecy areas that we can possibly use. That, for me, of course, is going to be the 50 period and the 200 period moving averages on the most popular time frames that we can pull up. That's going to be the 30-minute, the 4-hour, and the daily, because these are the most heavily used indicators in the market. And my belief is that TA really is nothing more, nothing less than a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's exactly how I prefer it to be. So you can see here, it's very clear here on the 30-minute on BBAI here today, we're getting this channel coming together tight, and the stock itself is starting to kind of hang out, struggling a little bit today, trying to reclaim that 50 period. Okay, so clearly, I think it's pretty obvious that, especially considering we have earnings tomorrow after the bell, which we'll get to here in a second on the daily, really, once we start looking at psychological levels. But it's pretty clear that we're likely to see a break one way or the other tomorrow here on BBAI, at least on the 30-minute chart, right? This channel's tightening down. If I'm a bull looking at this tomorrow, ideally what I want to see is just a clear and clean break upside through that 50 period, honestly a pullback and retest, and then a high volume pull away up through 4, okay, depending where that level is at the time. If I'm a bear, continue to reject this 50 period as hard as possible, right? Continue to see it accelerating downside with the stock in that case, and then a hard break through the 200 period again on high volume. anything above average volume, and I'd be happy in both of those scenarios, whether I'm a bull or a bear. Now, on to the 4-hour chart. You can see here that we've had quite the move in BBAI as of late. So the 4-hour is going to take its time in getting that 50 period especially. Well, the 200 period is going to take even longer. But the 50 period is going to take some time to move upside, but it has made light work of this move since this move began from the low 2s up now to about 320 a share. The reason I'm always looking for that, guys, from a bullish perspective, when you see a big move like this, part of the problem is those psychological barriers. The popular moving averages really on the longer time frames are going to be the most heavily looked at indicators in general. So they're important from a psychological perspective. They take their time to get upside. That's one of the problems with having big moves like this, is you're kind of floating on thin air for a little while. But that thing is making light work of this move again. So what I would like to see is that 50 period, ideally as soon as possible, getting up above 350 a share. Because really, if I'm a bull, I don't really want to see a retest of that, because that's going to be a 17.5% downside move. I just want to see this thing continue upside at a sustained or a swift pace. Okay, and if I'm a bear, ideally a flatten out prior to that psychological level of 350 would be what I would be looking for here on the 4-hour chart. Now, the daily. This is going to be the most important chart of all. Okay, we're looking here at the daily. And you can see that the indicators are completely irrelevant. The nearest one is the 50-day, and it's at 216 a share, 217 a share. So what are we looking at here, right? Well, we have earnings tomorrow, after the bell, of course, and we're left with really huge psychological levels. Okay, the earnings are on Thursday, by the way, depending on whether you're watching this Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So we can't overcomplicate this story here, because I want to know what is going to be the most clear picture that everybody's kind of paying attention to the same thing. Because that's how this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you start overcomplicating things, it loses effectiveness in my experience. What I'm looking at is 375, 425, but really for me, the big story here tomorrow is $4 a share. If I'm a bull, I would love nothing more here than to see $4 a share reclaim and hold through earnings and through the open on Friday. That would be a beautiful thing, but that's going to start, it would certainly be helpful, to close above $4 a share tomorrow heading into the report. To the downside, if I'm a bull, any test of 375, I want to see that hold ideally as a support level. Bears, any upside test of that whole dollar, $4 a share, going to want to see a hard high volume rejection, and really your ideal goal tomorrow, get down through 375, head down toward 350, because I think in the near term, if you're a bear, you'd prefer to see this thing get back down below 350 a share, heading back down toward 3, I would think, whereas a lot of bulls probably have their eyes on 4, 450, $5 a share. Now let's take a quick look at what was the bias out of options traders here today as we head into earnings tomorrow. This is absurd. This is the first time I'm looking at this here on BBAI today. 68,000 total contracts traded. Not a tremendous sample size. I always want that volume as much as possible so that we can get as well-rounded data as possible. So when the volume is a little bit lower, like it is here, you have to take this with a grain of salt, but the call-put ratio here today is just tremendous. 62,600 calls, 5,800 puts. A massive call-side bias on the overall ratio. And what's interesting is we're seeing a lot of that volume being carried out from the 21 delta to the 80 delta range. A lot of it really is from the 21 to 60 delta range. This, of course, is telling us, where the strike price is in relation to the at-the-money strikes, really. And a lot of these calls, the volume on these being carried out kind of like just out of the money, or at the money, or slightly in the money, okay? Really interesting here today. Let me know if you were some of those call buyers, if you contributed to that 62,600 here today down in the comments section. I am curious. And hey, listen, if you got value out of this video, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.